All right, this is my intro to a historical fiction short story called The Flagellated Hand. But first, my historical intro. A town in the Sussex part of England, nowadays known as Colchester, but in Roman times called Camulodunum, meaning Camulus, from the god of war, who is the equivalent of Mars, and Dunum, from the Latin, meaning fortress. We begin our theory by stating the facts we do know. So first, in AD 43, only 10 years after the death of Christ, in AD 33, if you want to go by that date, the Romans invade Britannia with the father and son team, Titus and Vespasian. The invasion is set forward, but another revolt by the Iceni tribe, identified by the Romanized Boudica, is underway somewhere around AD 47, AD 49. So Camulodunum is then formed as a fortress or town by retired Roman soldiers for retired soldiers. It included a bath, a temple to Claudius, and even a hippodrome where they would have hippo races. Hippo means horse. Second, as this is a town formed by retired soldiers, shortly after the death of Christ, one might connect the dots to see that there might be a connection between the famed Longinus, the Roman centurion who is allegedly charged with piercing Jesus' side, because Camulodunum is the location of where a tombstone was unearthed, along with the remains close by of a temple dedicated to Claudius. So it reads, Longinus Sadpize, son of Maticus Duplicarius of the first Ala of Thracians, from the district of Serdica, lived 40 years, served 15 years. His heir set this up in accordance with his will. End text. So we may speculate then that maybe this Longinus might be the same who pierced Jesus' side. Scholars date this tombstone to be anywhere from AD 47 to AD 49. This is only 16 years from the date that Jesus was crucified at the latest, and there was a Roman presence there in that southern part of Britain. Third, excuse me, from the evidence provided on the tombstone found in Camulodunum, we find that this particular soldier was from Thracium, Sardica, which is in modern-day Sofia, Bulgaria, and he is the part of the cohort cavalry. Interesting. A cohort very similar to the one that was formed when Herod Antipas was in power in Judea, just a little while before that. This regiment was named Cohors Sebastiae, or the Samaritan cohort. It was most likely formed in Samaria during the time in which might have received Roman soldiers from the port of Caesarea Maritima. There have been many archaeological evidences of Roman soldiers having been stationed in that part of Judea during the time of Jesus that might have settled in Camulodunum toward the end of their career. Because Roman Colchester, or Roman town as they call it, was a town based on the river Colne, made by centurions for centurions. The name Longinus does not tell us much, but it does shed some light into the man that possibly would have speared Jesus' side at the crucifixion. But the main point of actually finding the man who affixed Jesus to the cross, physically nailing his hands and feet onto the cross, is a tough one. But I don't think it's impossible. With all this, the Longinus stories might have been, he might have been the one to affix Jesus to the cross. He might have lived the rest of his days in Colchester, England. Interesting. It's fascinating in of itself, however. One more church tradition should be taken into account. I think all of them should be taken into account, but, weeded out with discernment at least. But I think it's considered because every folktale there remains a residue of truth for the succeeding generations to intake and to learn from. And finally, Longinus is just a name, much like Gunny or Sarge, coming from the Greek word for spear, lonke. However, one church tradition claims that his name was Cassius. Finding the man who nailed Jesus to the cross by the name Julius or Cassius is like finding a needle in a haystack. But in Colchester, formerly known as Camulodunum, the dating would be correct. If Longinus was 26 years old at the time of Jesus' crucifixion in AD 33, or, we could take that 3-4 year time period, so maybe Jesus might have, it's purported that Jesus was crucified anytime between AD 30 and AD 33. And if Longinius lived to be 40 years old, as this tombstone says, and he served 15 years and died in AD 49, we can just say AD 49, it would have been 16 years after Jesus' crucifixion in AD 33. It's a very undeniable and significant point in Longinius' career. So there is a piece of evidence found that might make us differently. Geographically, Sofia, Bulgaria, Serdica, as it was known, is only about a week trip at the most from Caesarea Maritima. And from there to Jerusalem, it's only about 3 or 4 days' journey. It's not as far as we think. However, from Caesarea to Colchester, it's around 2 months by horse, sea, and horse again. It's more than likely, maybe, that this might have been the man who speared and possibly affixed Jesus. So that's my intro into a fictional short story called Manus Flagellated, or El Mano Azotada, the flagellated hand. So hope to spend the next couple of videos going into this on the story of the man who speared Jesus and the fictional historical account of the man who tried to find him.